Sam, I would like to introduce his wife, Carla, who is a physical therapist. She's going to come up and introduce Sam. I do want to add that Sam's son, David, is in the doctorate program in physical therapy at the University of North Georgia. So thanks, David, for joining us this evening.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carla Snider, and this is my husband, Sam. We've been married for 28 years. And wonderful 28 years. And he's running for State House District 7 representative. He has been very successful in coaching and teaching. He's won 11 state championships in wrestling. And of course with his team. He didn't do it all by himself. He has really depended on God for many of his decisions and many things he's done. And I'm very proud to introduce him and very excited that he's running for District 7 State Representative.
That's awesome. I want to meet that guy. Anyway, you can read this, Carla, do a very good job. Well, as she said, I'm Sam Snider, and thank you very much for giving this opportunity. My district, of course, is Fannin and Gilmer, and in the West Precinct of Dawson. So though it may not affect you as a voter, the person I'm running against is the Speaker of the House. And it will have a great effect upon the entire state of Georgia. And I think that something that people need to be able to do is to know you before they could ever like you. And if they don't like you, they're not going to trust you. So just a little bit about myself, and then I want to ask a few questions. And if you have a question for me, I'd love to hear. This has been a whirlwind for me of learning things that they never teach you in civics. They never teach you in college. And I have had my eyes open quite a bit. Anyway, I am married, of course, to my wife, Carla. David is my youngest son. My oldest son is Joshua. And he has a wife named Caitlin. They live in Blue Ridge, Georgia. He is the head wrestling coach there. I'm the head wrestling coach in LJ. And we do travel to Dawson County occasionally and wrestle. Aaron Haynes is a friend of mine. And my assistant coach, Chris Dorr, has moved from LJ to Dawson to assist over here. And I hate to lose him, but I did. What we did when we got married in 1985, we both went to work. Went to work in Dalton, Georgia. My wife is a physical therapist, and I was a coach. I got to coach Everett Bill Chapel and some other legendary men, learned a lot about it. They all had their sons in the programs, and I loved the way they treated their children coming up through the program. They didn't force things on them. They weren't too hard on them. So when I had kids, obviously I had to make sure I coached them in the right way. I pushed them probably harder than I would other guys, but as my sons had come up through it, we have been able to build a very good program, and we didn't focus upon state championships. We focused upon helping young men to become fathers and husbands. Because if we can build young men's character, then they're going to be successful way beyond high school. And they have been. Particularly 2005, we won our first state championship. And in that group was a valedictorian. Top 5 of the top 10 kids in the class that year was on our wrestling team. One of them went to Georgia on a presidential scholarship, became a medical doctor. The group goes on, and none of those young men wrestled in college. Our idea is not to produce college wrestlers. Our idea is to produce men. And we've done that very well. So we won it in 05, 07, 08, 10, 11, 12, 13. We should win it this year. That's regardless. My job has been to coach and teach for 28 years. Joe Kelly McCutcheon, who you may have got his newsletter at some point in time, he's asked me for many years, would you consider running? And I'm like, what would I run for, Joe? He said, well, we need good, solid men and women to step into these roles to make good, honest decisions. And finally, after a lot of soul searching and prayer and thinking about it, I thought I do have a good name in my community. And I am at the point over the last several years that I want to do something more. And I wanted to do something more. I thought about Noah Harris. He's a man that wrestled for me back in the 90s. He wound up being a state champion, and he went to the University of Georgia. He carried the American flag out. He wanted to be a cheerleader, 200-pound cheerleader, after 9/11. He felt a calling to go to the military. Served in Iraq, second lieutenant, and died. And two things have stuck with me. IDWIC, I-D-W-I-C, which means I do what I can. And you must serve a higher purpose than yourself. Those have stuck with me for a lot of years. And so as I think about running for this office, I'm concerned about where the nation is at. I'm concerned with the way things are handled from a leadership standpoint in Atlanta. I have concerns about that. I'll give you a little story and we'll ask you some questions, and I think this will make sense as to why I would do this. I've grown up my whole life working. I think I mowed yards at 7 years old, collected bottles at 5 years old, turned them for a nickel to get a candy bar. I delivered newspapers at eight years old, my sister. I've always had a job, but wrestling became something valuable to us. In my living room, we've had to restretch the carpet because of two high school boys and me wrestling in the living room. So now I have a grandson, about to turn 11 months old, won't walk anytime soon. I know he will be. My older son gets me down one night this weekend and is beating on me, but having fun doing it, and he's really not hurt me too bad. And I yell out. You know, at 50 years old, I'm not as spry as I once was. And my grandson starts to cry. And so we're like, no, it's okay, Luke. It's okay. You know, he's sniffling everything. Well, then me and Josh, we roll around a little bit more, and sure enough, he crawls over and wants to join in. He can't walk yet, but he crawls over and he's like, yeah, you know, whatever he's saying. I don't know what he's saying. It's baby gibberish to me. But I think about what does the future hold for my grandson? $17 trillion debt? Now, you may have a different opinion than I do. But if you're very happy with the way things are heading financially for our federal government, just raise your hand if you feel like that's really going well. Now, who would be responsible at that level? Who would you hold accountable at the federal government? Would you hold the leaders?
All of them.
I would hold every one of them accountable. Watch that 60-minute clip I was telling you about. That's amazing that we have bipartisan support for a slush fund to go to Ireland with your family for a wedding of a guy that you might hire. Where I could hire my kids at $50,000 a year to work in my campaign, and it's not illegal to give them $50,000 of campaign money. That's a problem I would have with that.
How about $612,000 for a girlfriend?
That was crazy, wasn't it? The lady who charged 18% interest on her campaign for loaning them money. I like that interest rate. That would be awesome. But let's take it to the state. Are you happy with our state government? And if you're not happy with the state government, who would you hold responsible for? You can say all of them. But who leads that? That is who I'm running against. Don't dislike him. He was my lawyer in 2007. Don't have a real issue with him as a person. We actually talked on the phone about it a week before I announced that I was going to run. But I have an issue when we don't vote for pro-life. I have an issue when we don't have a clean gun bill. I have an issue with a lot of things that have been passed through because no longer is it about what we came and ran on and believed in. It's now about how much funds can be provided for me. Not me. I'm not a career politician. I'm a coach. I'm a dad. I'm a teacher. I'm grandpa. But I'm willing to go up and vote no when I'm supposed to vote no on things that go against the values that I've been raised with. And I'm willing to go up and be honest and read the legislation. And they pull me aside and say, hey, don't worry about reading the legislation. We'll tell you what to vote. No, you won't. There are some non-negotiables that I will not change upon. And if I was 25 or 30, I might be concerned more. At 50 years old, my ego, I've already got my ego taken care of. I don't need to have it stroked. I don't need more $100 steak dinners. I don't need any of those things. I want to stand up and represent my local community. My representative came to my local community one time in the last 3 years. It was a week ago Thursday. He delivered a $123,000 check of flood assistance to our Board of Commissioners. He said he didn't want to spend the money on a stamp. How much did he charge them per diem and mileage? The next day he read to the primary school and the elementary school. I'm glad he did. It made front page news. Where has he been? My daughter-in-law who works at Gilmer County said, come read to my kids. Maybe we can make the newspaper. I said, awesome. But if you think about it, if you hold them responsible, over 70% of Americans are opposed to career politicians. They're opposed and concerned and want to eliminate them. So I asked a friend of mine, why don't we vote them out? He said, well, because it's always somebody else's representative. Our guy's probably pretty good. Why do we believe that? I just don't feel that someone who's been there a long time has been able to keep themselves away from the influences of lobbyists and special interests. I want them to represent my county, my district. I want them to come back and ask questions about what we need and what we're about. I don't want money from Valdosta sent to LJ. I just don't want LJ money sent to Valdosta. I don't want the federal government telling my school what to teach. I don't want the money strings held there. All these topics are huge. We've got to stand for those things. So, with that in mind, I've got a couple questions. I've already mentioned we're not happy with the federal government, possibly. The percent who are not happy with local government or career politicians. Are we leaving our children and grandchildren a country that is better than we found it?
Absolutely not.
Then we need to ask more men and women to take the challenge and to run for office. When this election is over May 20th, it will never be about me. I have good values. Like I said, I've worked my whole life. I love my family. I would love to just keep winning state championships. And my plan is to work my job, go represent my district, and then come back and teach in March and April. That's my goal. When the session's over, I'm going to come back and go to work. That's what I think it's supposed to be about. I don't plan on being a career politician whatsoever. But we need more than 2 or 3 or 20. We need 100, 150. It'd be nice to get 180 new faces, to be honest with you. And I think if I can make this election work, if I can change the leadership at the House, I think it will encourage other men and women across this state to step up and run for their house. Good, solid people with good, solid morals and convictions who will do the right thing. And I'm hoping to do the right thing. I've done the right thing for 50 years. I'm very blessed to be able to speak to y'all tonight. Very blessed to have my family with me. We've done wrestling teams for a lot of years. Now we're trying to do a campaign, and it's interesting. It's hard work. You said I'm going to wear out 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. But if you have anyone in the West District, if they would like to know more about me, it's alexsamsnider.com. I've got some paper up here. It's interesting information that can go out to you. I'll talk to them on the phone. I'm going to be walking the different neighborhoods that I can get into. There's some I can't get into. And I'm going to make myself visible. And I think when people know the option, the choice, I'm hoping they'll make a choice for me. Do you have any specific questions for me tonight? Yes.
You mentioned education, and there's going to be a bill introduced, I think, in the Senate next year to get rid of Common Core. And I'm wondering if you support that. I
would support it fully. I do not think the federal government, through their finances, should control what the state does. Education is a state thing, but first of all, education is for my family to decide. It's for men and women with their children. Homeschooling, private school. I would be opposed if we eventually work to privatization of school, of education. I think it would be a hard and difficult road to go. It would take time. And I'm a public school teacher. I love my school. We've got a great principal, great leadership, and we're doing a good job. But I do not want the federal government dictating to us how to train our kids. And I think there's a lot of flaws in Common Core, a lot of flaws. I think it's going to put out just more factory workers than the high level of education we want. Another question? Anybody else have a question back here? I'll be here afterwards.